Donald Trump, Nikki Haley. Things are getting really interesting here, guys. I hope you guys are able to see and hear me okay. Um, I want to cover a lot of topics with you guys, including President Joe Biden, this whole ballot situation. And you guys may have already heard about it, but I want to dive deep a little bit into this. If you guys are able to see and hear me okay, drop me a comment, hit the like button, do something, let me know you guys are good. Democratic lawmakers are sounding the alarm over President Joe Biden's campaign. They're not real comfortable. Now, if you guys have seen one of my more recent videos, I see you guys starting to come in on the comments. That's what's up. That's good. If you guys have seen some of my more recent videos, we were talking about President Joe Biden and how he recently sent an airstrike in behind Congress's back without getting any kind of pre-authorized approval to do so. This is in response to the whole Israel-Hamas situation. There's a lot going on over there. Palestinian protests here in the United States on American soil. But there's been like a lot of back and forth. Basically, President Joe Biden, he has taken a stance with this war that a lot of people haven't supported. Some people are saying that he should have been more aggressive, but others are saying, that he did the right thing by trying not to let the war spread. Some of this may affect his ability. Some of this may affect his, presence in the campaign for the presidential elections here in 2024. But this has nothing to do with the ballot situation that we are hearing more and more about, which I definitely will be sharing with you guys. But here's the thing. Democrats are not in support of his most recent decision, which is really, really shocking. It really is shocking to me. Generally speaking, they kind of cluster together, the Republicans or Democrats. They kind of get behind the party leader. But this is exactly the opposite. In fact, Joe Biden actually got more support from Republicans on that recent decision than his own party. They were quite vocal about that, by the way. Let's see, who do we have in here? We got Miss Bradley. Sorry, Mary Bradley. We got Jean Cole or Jean Cole. I'm not really sure how you pronounce yours. O3 Stain GT. I see 50 Shades of Cray. Okay, that's very creative on the name. John Watkins, Marquita J. Charles Wesson. I appreciate you guys up in the comments. Now, also, let's see who we got in the room today. Are you supporting Joe Biden? Or are you supporting Trump? You supporting Nikki Haley? You supporting Ron DeSantis? Whoever you support, make it known. Put it in the comments. All right, guys. So Democratic lawmakers are sounding the alarm over President Joe Biden's campaign. Not real comfortable. They're not real comfortable about this. So basically, several Democratic lawmakers have expressed unease with President Joe Biden's campaign and its operations as he faces sagging poll numbers and low popularity. It's very funny how they use the word sagging. Kind of makes me laugh. So basically, they're saying it's a viewpoint that aligns with some other left-leaning individuals who have previously sounded the alarm, including a former aide to the First Lady, Joe Biden. Still, President Joe Biden's re-election vehicle appears to have not made any significant changes despite the public outcry. A lot of people are now saying, if you looked at the stock market, if you look at the market, look at the NASDAQ, look at the S&P 500, look at the Dow Jones, in the last, 6 weeks, we have crossed over a very monumental threshold. Some are saying that the markets are rigged. We have just crossed into all-time high territory for all three major stock market indices. So for the most part, if you have an investment portfolio, whether it's not Social Security, but if you have an IRA, if you got a 401k, doesn't matter if it's a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, chances are if you log into your brokerage accounts today, you will see that your balances are likely much higher than they have ever been. This is assuming you haven't taken any type of hardship withdrawal, lowering that balance. I understand some people are getting behind on some of their mortgage payments, some of their rent payments in this economy. And, some people have actually had to make some withdrawals from their retirement accounts. So you got to be real, real careful with that. But aside from that, some people are saying that the markets are rigged. And the reason why the stock market's as high as it is because there is a presidential election and, President Joe Biden wants to get reelected. So they will do anything in their power to make the market, to make the economy, to make the economy look as good as it can leading into the elections. Because think about it. If the stock market was crashing and everybody was losing money, do you think that President Joe Biden would have any chance at getting reelected against former President Donald Trump, or Nikki Haley, or against Ron DeSantis? Like, I don't really know who's going to be we don't know for a fact, but we're pretty sure of who will be very likely the Republican nominee, though it's not quote unquote official. Comment down below who you think it's going to be. I think it's pretty obvious at this point, but you guys let me know. But here's the thing, guys. Again, this is all about how the American people feel about who's leading, who's running this country. If the American people are not happy, then it's going to be, if they're not happy at the time of voting, good luck getting reelected. And it's going to make it that much easier for, people to vote for the competitor, whether they're Republican or not. Now, something that's real interesting here, and I want to show this to you guys. If you guys aren't looking at the screen, I know some of you guys just kind of have a tendency to, I don't know what you're doing right now. Some people have a tendency to listen to me and don't really watch the show, which is totally fine. I'm not taking any offense to it. I tend to watch YouTube and wash the dishes, or, watch YouTube listen to YouTube while I'm washing the dishes, or maybe I'm washing some clothes or doing something else. Maybe I'm working out and I'm just kind of like listening to YouTube on the headphones, but usually I listen to YouTube while I'm driving, believe it or not. So instead of listening to the radio, I normally just kind of like have YouTube going in the background. So President Joe Biden, I'm going to show something to you in a second. So President Joe Biden isn't on the ballot in New Hampshire's primary. Now, if you guys remember, former President Trump, he's doing pretty good in New Hampshire, isn't he? Now, that doesn't mean he takes it, but Trump could win. And theoretically, Trump will likely win this one, this New Hampshire. I mean, you saw how well he did in Iowa, so you can pretty much say he won that one. But President Joe Biden, and this is not my opinion, I'm just sharing with you guys the facts. I will give you my opinion, but this is not my opinion here. So President Joe Biden's not on the ballot in New Hampshire's primary, but here's why. 21 Democratic candidates will appear on the New Hampshire primary ballot on Tuesday, but incumbent President Joe Biden is not one of them. He's the first president running for re-election to skip the Granite State primary in more than 50 years. I want you to tell me why you think President Joe Biden would have skipped that. I want you to look at it for yourself. I'm not making this up. I have no need to make anything up, guys. He's not on the ballot. I told you. Okay. So Biden's not on the ballot. It's all about a change to the Democratic National Committee's rules that made South Carolina, not New Hampshire, the first official primary of the Democratic presidential nominating cycle. Patricia Witt says because he can't complete a coherent sentence. You guys are amazing in the comments. Because the New Hampshire primary is non-compliant with new DNC rules, the National Party deemed the contest meaningless. Case closed. Shut the book. They're done. So that's it. New Hampshire leaders, both Democrats, Republicans, were not pleased, banding together to uphold state law that requires its voters to have the primary New Hampshire Attorney General Brandon O'Neill. Wait. Brandon O'Neill. There's a comment I don't want to forget to look at. Hold on a second. Oh my God. Brandon O'Neill filed his own cease and desist letter accusing the DNC of engaging in voter suppression. Oh God. Do we need another, some people refer to it as the Manchurian candidate. We don't need a relapse of that in 2024. Yeah. So anyway, there was a comment I saw in here The net 2007 says Biden was in the basement all of last election season. What's new? Yeah, so we're seeing some mixed reactions on this one. So the question is, well, who the heck is on the ballot? Eva Rich, appreciate you supporting the channel because he sleeps too much, Eva. So who is on the ballot? So the DNC instructed candidates to, oh, by the way, if you guys are, hanging out with me for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't already, definitely hit the like button for the video. I really, really appreciate you guys. We got almost 600 people here in the live. Show your love, hit the like button, and yeah. Do all that YouTube-y stuff. Anyway, so the DNC instructed candidates to take all steps possible not to participate in the New Hampshire primary as currently scheduled. Two high-profile Democratic challengers completely ignored the DNC. Minnesota Representative Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson, an author, making her second run for the nomination. President Joe Biden decided to skip the state altogether. So is President Joe Biden basically saying New Hampshire ain't even worth showing up to? I mean, he just skipped it altogether. I don't know what else to assume here. And what is this here? So what is this? I'm gonna show this to you guys in just a second, but what is this? I'm gonna ask you guys, what do you guys think this is? Hold on one second. Let me scroll up. Have you guys seen this before? My laptop's kind of heavy. Have you guys seen this before? Like, what is that? Like, what form is that? Candidate of the candidate of the Democratic Party for President of the United States. This is the official ballot for Albany Democratic New Hampshire presidential primary election. Very interesting. That's my first time seeing this. So can New Hampshire voters cast a vote for Biden? It's a grassroots and mostly volunteer campaign led by the president's supporters in New Hampshire, and it's running on a shoestring budget. Organizers hope to recruit thousands of volunteers to stand outside every voting location in the state to tell people how to write in the president's name on the ballot. So if it's not there, they can write it in. Okay. Have you ever written a president's name onto a ballot that wasn't already there? I don't think I've ever done that in all the different times I've voted. Anyway, recent polling suggests that despite the challenges of a write-in campaign, President Biden has a comfortable lead. Ooh, he's got a comfortable lead. He is apparently killing them over the 21 candidates whose names are actually on the ballot. So it looks like President Biden's good. He ain't too worried in that state. More than 3/4 of Democratic voters have decided who they will vote for, and 69% plan on writing in Biden's name. Wow. So Biden's got that much pull in New Hampshire. That's what I'm gathering. If I'm wrong, let me know. But according to this, that's far ahead of Phillips and Williamson, who have 6 and 7% respectively. Yada, 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 yada. Okay, hold on. How did Trump do? Let's see. New Hampshire, Trump. All right, where you at, Trump? All right, so Trump, Haley make final push in New Hampshire as the Tuesday primary. Okay, all right, so Trump and Haley, they are readying up for the New Hampshire primary. But here's the thing. NBC is saying this is why Trump is ahead in the New Hampshire polls. So 3 high-quality New Hampshire polls have now been conducted after the Iowa caucuses, and they tell a consistent story about the battle in the state's GOP presidential primary. It's not just that all 3 of them, 2 tracking polls via the Boston Globe, NBC Suffolk, as well as another poll from St. Anselm College, have former President Donald Trump leading former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley by double digits, or that they have all at 50% or higher. Rather interesting. It's funny how these different polls come up with different results. You know what I'm saying? I never look at any one poll. I like to look at multiple polls and try to, piece together what's really going on. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. So, but all right. So, Democratic lawmakers are not happy. But you know who else is getting into this thing here? Senator Roger Marshall. Joe Biden is the real threat to democracy. That's what they're saying here. President Joe Biden's failed leadership. I'm just reading here and sharing this information with you guys. As it's come out, it's saying that President Joe Biden's failed leadership has resulted in skyrocketing inflation, crippling interest rates, a humanitarian and national security crisis at our border, lawlessness in the streets, and endless wars throughout weakness. So I got to ask you guys, is this an accurate statement? Is this an accurate assessment of where President Joe Biden has left the United States as of the current time? What do you guys think about that? Do we have skyrocketing inflation? Yes or no? Do we have crippling interest rates? Have you checked mortgage rates for a home right now? Mortgage rates are much higher today. For the lucky few, some of you guys have very low mortgage rates, 3% mortgage rates, 4% mortgage rates, 5% mortgage rates. But some people who have sat on the sideline waiting for a housing market crash have been unfortunately disappointed because the housing market crash really has not materialized and mortgage rates are at an all-time high. So it's almost like a lot of people sitting on the sideline who are still, renting, maybe renting a house, renting an apartment, renting a townhouse, renting a condo. They're in a very precarious situation, and they're hoping that the Fed ends up cutting interest rates in 2024. But here's the thing. A lot of people were, sitting on cash, sitting on that dry powder maybe a little bit too long. And as interest rates went up, the shocking thing that happened was that no one was really trying to sell their houses. People didn't want to let go of those 3% mortgage rates, 4% mortgage rates, only to do what, right? Because here's the thing. If you sell your house and you're in 3%, 4% mortgage rates, what are you going to do? You got to live somewhere, right? So if you sell your house, you're going to have to either pay cash for a house. Does the average American have enough cash to pay cash for a house? If you look at the average savings bank balance and the average net worth of the average American in 2022 compared to the average or median home price in America, the average person in America, the average American cannot afford to pay cash for a house. Now, I'm not saying that no one can, but most people cannot pay cash for a house. If you cannot pay cash for a house, if you do not have enough income, if you do not have enough money, cash to pay cash for a house, say you could not pay cash for a house. But if you could pay cash for a house, just comment that you could afford to pay cash for a house, just to see where we are demographically in the comments, because so many people are literally unable to, at this point, realize what the American dream is. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, the American dream is dead. Some people have quit looking for homes. Some people have quit the idea of ever owning a home for probably three main reasons. But there's a lot more than just three. Number one, home values are unbelievably high compared to where they were, say, 4 years ago. Now, this is not a problem if you're a homeowner. If you're a homeowner, you're basking in likely hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, depending upon where you purchase. So wherever your purchase price was, whatever your initial investment price was on the home, you could literally be sitting in, half, 50 grand, $100,000, a few $100,000 in equity in the home that you've purchased or invested in. Two, interest rates are more than double what they once were at the lows. So this is creating a tremendous barrier for a lot of people who are still hoping to one day be able to realize the American dream. So with home prices higher than they once were, home prices are, say, I don't know, 30%, 40% more expensive than they once were, say, 4 or 5 years ago. So that's already making affordable housing that much more difficult to achieve. Number one. Number two, interest rates have more than doubled from their lows. Interest rates at one point, the lowest I have seen without adding any points to the mortgage was somewhere around like 2.7%. I know somebody who got like 2.6%, and I can't tell you what bank or credit union or mortgage company that they use, but they got like 2.6%, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, mind you. All right. So they ain't never gonna sell that house. And I told them, they're a good friend of mine. This is not financial advice or anything like that. I was like, man, do not pay extra. Do not send any extra mortgage payments in. Don't send any extra principal balance on that loan. Pay it off as slowly as possible. I normally would never say make minimum payments on a credit card, and I still would not. And I still say that unless you have like maybe 0% interest and you're trying to like stretch it out and maximize how long you're getting that free money. But that's a different story. But from a mortgage standpoint, if you got 2.6% 30-year fixed rate mortgage, there ain't no way I'm paying that thing off early. I'm gonna milk that thing, especially when inflation is higher than your mortgage rate. It don't make any financial sense to pay it off early. And I get it. A lot of people want to become debt free. They want to be financially free. And I'm 100% on board with that. Pursue what your dreams are. But, at the same time, be rational, like understand the math, understand some of the metrics. Like I get it, kind of walking through the backyard with a payoff house and just kind of barefoot walking through the grass probably feels a little bit different if your home is paid off versus having a mortgage payment, and you could probably also sleep better at night knowing you don't have a mortgage payment. But at the end of the day, think about it. There are some expenses that will never stop. So if your mortgage rate's really low, I would say if your mortgage rate's less than 4%, I'm in no hurry to pay that thing off. I'm serious, period, point blank. Whether it's a 15-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, unless it's an adjustable rate mortgage, I would not right now be looking to refinance the mortgage, nor would I be looking to pay the mortgage off any faster than the scheduled period. Because here's why. Number one, let's just pretend that your mortgage rate's less than 4%. Okay, great. If you look at your payment statements, granted, the bulk of your interest is going to be paid in the earlier years of the amortization cycle, right? But here's some things that are never going to stop. You're never going to stop paying property taxes. And this is why some people say you never really own your property, because there's some expenses that never stop, right? So you never stop paying property taxes. And if home values continue to appreciate, which is not necessarily a bad thing, it's kind of a double-edged sword, and I'll get into that later, but it's like if your property taxes continue to come, then that's an expense you can't get away from. If your home value continues to appreciate, your property taxes will likely go up, because chances are the greedy counties will likely say, hey, your home is worth a lot more, Mr. Ron. So we're going to have to reassess your property, and that's going to increase the property tax bill, right? Another thing, do you really want to sit on a $500,000 asset? Maybe, I don't know how much your house is. Maybe your house is $1 million, $2 million. I don't know how much your house is, but the average American house, the average value or the median value of homes in America right now is like $431,000. So let's just say the median home value is $430 something thousand. Do you really want to sit on a $400,000 property in Florida, uninsured? Like, I'm pretending like, in this scenario, we're pretending your home is paid for, right? So your home's paid for, but you still have property taxes. Because if you don't pay your property taxes, even if your home's paid off, they will foreclose on your home. The county will. The county or the state. Usually it's the county. They will force the sale of your home if you don't pay your property taxes. So you're gonna have to keep paying that, right? For Florida residents, a lot of people paying ridiculous amounts of property tax. I talked to this one guy, he's paying $20,000 a year just in property taxes. And then he was telling me he's paying another $20,000 in homeowners insurance, right? So he's paying $40,000 a year, even if his house is paid off. He's paying $40,000 a year just to stay there. And that doesn't include his utilities, electrical, water, cable if he's got cable. We don't have cable. We turn cable off. We just stream. We just do streaming and high-speed internet. We don't need no cable service. So we got rid of that. Anyway, water. So there's some utilities. There's some ongoing expenses that just won't stop, right? So basically, like D Nizzle 07 says, you basically own nothing. I mean, you do, but it's like you own it, but you don't get to keep it if you don't keep paying. So I get why people say you own nothing. But here's the thing: why you do own it is because if the asset increases in value, then you benefit from that increased value. If you technically didn't own the property, let's just say, because some people say you own nothing, right? Let's say you bought a house in 2019. You paid, I don't know, 200 grand for this house. 2024 rolls around, that $200,000 property is now worth $500,000, right? And it's a very realistic scenario, especially depending upon what city or state you live in. So your property appreciated by $300,000. This is actually how a lot of people here in America build wealth. They buy real estate, right? In fact, for most Americans, real estate is the most valuable asset that they own. All right. So if you didn't own that property, right? Because some people say, oh, you don't own anything because you're still paying taxes, all right? But if you didn't own that property, then you wouldn't have had your net worth increased by $300,000, right? So if you go to sell that house in 2024, if you sell a house in 2024 and you lived in it for that whole period of time, you actually would walk away with a $300,000 profit. And check with your tax person, check with your tax advisor, your CPA or whatever. But according to the IRS, as long as you lived in that property, as long as you lived in that residence for I think it's 3 out of the last 5 years, then you actually would not be responsible for paying any kind of income taxes on that capital gain. So you could theoretically have lived in that home for free for 5 years. Because think about it, and I actually fall into that situation. We've lived in our home for free because our home value increased faster than the amount of mortgage payments that we're paying. So our home is actually worth more than the amount of mortgage payments that we've paid over the years. So we've literally lived for free. If we were to sell the house today, we would get all of our mortgage payments back. So for everyone who tells me that you don't own anything, it's not really true. So that kind of debunks the myth of you own nothing, but I get why people say it. So, we can still be friends anyway, but yeah, so President Joe Biden is desperately, let me see, what are you guys saying? I've been on the street 2 years. It's not fun. At least a car or a van is better and safer. Yeah, be careful, because I was actually reading about some people who were living in their van, living in the car, and then they get waken up in the middle of the night by the police or by some vandals. Gotta be real careful out there, guys. Especially, I mean, we're dealing with this polar vortex still. I just checked the weather outside. I went outside and I was like, man, it is crispy outside right now. The weather, I don't know what's the weather like where you guys are at. I went outside an hour ago and it was 24 degrees, and it's slated to hit 12 degrees sometime tonight or early morning. So it's getting bad out there, temperature wise. So if you got any animals out there, depending upon what kind of plants you might have around your house, we had a palm tree in the backyard, man, that thing died. So hopefully you don't have any animals that you normally leave outside, because some of them ain't gonna make it if you don't bring them in. Some people mentioned that they had horses and the stable couldn't, the stable wasn't heated and they had to do something with the horses. I'm not really sure. But anyway, guys, I'm just saying, I really hope that anyone who's homeless out there is taking care of themselves. And speaking of this, I saw this TikTok. I saw this TikTok the other day, and this guy was talking about how he and his wife, instead of investing in a home right now, instead of buying a house, and instead of renting a traditional house or renting an apartment or a condo, what they did was a different kind of house hacking. They ended up renting a storage unit. And he did this TikTok on how he and his wife were, he basically kind of did a selfie video, and it was him showing his living situation in this storage unit. And I don't know how big it was. Maybe it was a 10 by 10, or, those public storage units, like maybe there's Metro storage by you. But anyway, so most people, when they buy a house, or most people when they rent an actually most people, if they're downsizing, a lot of people, if they're downsizing, they have all this extra stuff that they've had over the years. And yeah, you're right, Catalia, it is illegal to live in a storage unit. But Big Chungy, what's going on? Much love to you too. So it is illegal to live in a storage unit, but these people were doing it. And this is where the story went left, right? So he's doing this selfie video on TikTok showing him and his wife's living situation. He was showing how he had a microwave in there to heat up some food. I think he had like some sandwiches, maybe in a what you call it? One of those, maybe it was like a Yeti. I don't know if it was a Yeti or not, but basically it was like a cooler. But so he had sandwiches in there. He had a microwave in there. He was showing how he had a power outlet, a space heater, and I'm thinking to myself, how does this dude use the bathroom? Right? How does he and his wife use the bathroom? Anyway, so apparently there's a toilet in there that is available, but it's not in the unit. So I guess he would like walk down the hallway. I guess maybe when you first scan your badge to come in there, because it was a 24-hour storage facility. So I guess somewhere in the lobby, maybe there's access to a toilet. And of course, Marantha says, you can use a bucket and some trash bags. Yeah, that's an option too. Definitely not desirable, but he was basically saying that they're doing this to save money because it's cheaper. And if they can avoid having to pay $2,000 a month for rent, and instead rent this storage unit for like $150 a month or maybe $200 a month, then that's an extra $1,800 per month that they can save, theoretically. But this is where the story went south. So basically, he posted this TikTok. It went viral. If you guys have seen this, definitely let me know if you've seen that TikTok video. But anyway, so the video goes viral. Apparently, someone must have shared this video that went viral with the storage facility. And I guess they recognized the guy from the video, or they realized, what storage unit he was in. Whatever the case is, they ended up booting him out. So here he goes trying to share this hack, and then I guess like shortly after, he and his wife ended up getting booted out. So that was kind of jacked up, especially during a polar vortex. You don't want to get evicted while it's 1 degrees outside. I know I said 1 degrees plural when in singular, but you see what I'm saying, right? So anyway, that's what's going on, guys. That's what's going on. So President Joe Biden, he is not on the ballot for New Hampshire. And we got President Trump, or former President Trump. You got Nikki Haley, and we have Ron DeSantis, right? We got the Republican. We have the New Hampshire. What is it? Where is it? We got the New Hampshire polls and that data. And of course, Tuesday, there is the New Hampshire primary taking place. So a lot's going to be going down. I'm going to keep you guys posted on everything that's going on, like I always do. If you guys appreciate it, definitely hit the like button for the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. Man, we got like 700 people in here. Catalia says it's -6 degrees here in New York. I didn't know you were in New York, Catalia. I went to the gym and froze my buns off. Most of the girls in the gym be wearing these leggings, and they're like trying to sprint from the car. It's so funny to watch them run. But it's like, I get it. You don't want to be like completely bundled up, because if you're bundled up, how you going to work out in a snowsuit, right? So you just try to do a quick sprint from the car to the gym. Anyway, I totally get it. Get those gains in, Catalia, and anyone else who has fitness or weight loss goals or muscle gain goals or fat loss goals for 2024. Hit your goals. I know y'all could do it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm gonna see y'all on the next one. Take care. Be safe. Bye. I don't even know how to end this live. I'm hitting the wrong